For my brothers never had an ear to hear them. These the bricks for our sisters help us build it. If I could be a black fly on the wall, I can hear and see it all and have the mind of a god. Black, 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 black. Fly, 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 fly. Black, 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 black.
Another episode of Black Fly on the Wall. We're back again with another dope conversation, a much needed one.
Sure.
That we hope this conversation can help others and really push the healing process forth. I have some very, very dope individuals here with me. Once again, as always, I got my boy to my right, my boy Dame. Dame, introduce yourself, my man.
How y'all doing, good people? Damian Rashad, a.k.a. Dame. Happy to be here. Artist. Bless.
Nice.
Amen.
Brandon, welcome back again.
Yes,
introduce
sir.
yourself.
Brandon the therapist. I'm happy to be here on this platform talking about this topic. Is very near and dear to me and who I've grown into being, so I'm happy to be a part of it.
Absolutely. Sam the man.
Y'all already know, man. Sam, co-host, YouTube. Check me out. Let's get it.
Absolutely. Come Healed, Why Therapy is for You. Right? So this is a play on the popular moniker that's floating around on social media right now, and as in the come healed, right? As you know, what men and women say to the opposite sex or to the person that they're dating or interested in dating is that they want you to come whole. But we have to talk about
Sounds good.
Sounds
Right.
good.
It'll never work.
It's like
out
come.
that.
Come
That's
sounds
equivalent
real
to
good.
come as a millionaire, right?
Yeah, right.
Like you
Sounds
gotta.
good.
That's a process.
6 figures.
Yeah.
So you had your 100K when you
That's up there with that. And so, you know, the point of this conversation is to really dive into the historical prevalence of why we are not at a healed state as a people, right? And so, you know, us as a people have been through a lot of ups and downs, trials and tribulations, things that have really affected our outlook and our ability to progress through life and manage the things through life that we want to manage. And Brandon, that's why I thought it was essential for you to be on this episode as a licensed therapist, is to really tap into the levels of what healing really looks like and how it's a process to get to that point. And then once you get to that point, you are a healed individual. And so people who you once were interested in dating or you once hung around or family members that you once talked to on a frequent basis, you now navigate those relationships differently because you're now risen to a point and your vibration and your frequency is higher to the point where you realize like, hey, now that I've been through this healing process, this is the destination that I landed on, and this is the direction I want to continue to go to. So whenever you hear the word come healed, what does that mean to you as a licensed therapist?
Oh my goodness.
Clients.
Oh yeah, work for sure. Absolutely work. You know, nobody will. I'm just going to throw that out there. Nobody will come to you healed, or I think really even aware that they need to heal. One of the things I educate clients on is the idea that, you know, I think when we think of healed, I think we think of in the context, I put a Band-Aid on something and that wound will heal. And so there is that, you know, that, but the scar is still there. I still have scars on my knees when I was 9 years old, and those scars have what? Stories, right? So the idea that I try to impart with a lot of clients that I work with is healed doesn't exist in this concept of I'll get over something. You can learn to manage things. And if you heal something, that's an ongoing process. There's no part of you that comes to any relationship that you're a part of, personal, professional, romantic, however you want to look at it, that will heal in totality. Because any instant can trigger something that you've worked even to improve upon. But the reality is you can manage the reaction to the trigger better than you did 6 months ago. But being healed as if it's in totality and it's infinite, it's definite, does not exist.
Absolutely.
And healed is help. Like even what you said, why as a people have we not healed? It's because we haven't helped each other heal. We've helped each other, like you said, put Band-Aids on, and even to our traumas of growing up and as a people, we haven't healed from them because it was always, we'll never forget your history so that you don't get into the same situations, but you got to help people heal, even with come healed. That means you don't want to help me. You're telling me to come already
prepared,
healed,
be ready.
so
Be
that
ready.
you don't have to help me get there. It's like healing is help, and we don't want to do that. So
It makes me think about how they say healed with an ED. It's really healed because it's a continuous process. You'll never get to the point of perfection.
Yeah.
And that's why I feel like people looking for in relationships or just interactions like, oh, well, if you're not coming to me put together, I'm good.
on you.
And it's never going to be like that. I'm going to continue to go through things to be healed from and heal from.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that's how.
And we live in a microwave society, to your point, where I think even with our social medias and our platforms where everything is a refresh of a button. And I think people look at things that you're going through in the same context, that you're going to come ready.
Exactly.
You're going to come prepared, microwavable instantly, or I tell you what triggers me and you're going to understand exactly what that means because I told you.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going through my own stuff that I brought with me anyway. So me being healed and ready for you. And I also find that it's interesting. Are you what you're asking for?
Correct.
Most of the time, no.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
You know, it's and that's essential because I think a lot of times people look at social media as real life and it's not. And that allows them to develop a linear perspective of what they think life should be like. And just because something is trending on social media doesn't mean it needs to trend in your life, right? Like it means that social media is not always something that you learn from and you deploy these things into your real life, right? This is just a saying that sounds good, it's catchy, but when you really think about it, it doesn't really make sense because even as the individual that's saying, I want my man to come heal, I want my woman to come heal, well, you're a person that hasn't even initiated the healing process. Yeah. Like a lot of Black men and women have never been to therapy, have never sat down and talked to a licensed individual about their problems. Like whenever you get sick and you don't feel well, you go to the doctor. And whenever you want to lose weight and get in shape, you get a personal trainer. But it seems like whenever we go through these mental challenges throughout life, we don't always initiate, hey, let me go and get a therapist. And I think it's critical for us to make sure that we continue to push why therapy is necessary for us. It's because we're never in the position mentally or consciously where we need to be to achieve the things that we need to be able to achieve. Like even if you can go to therapy if you have a goal that you really want to achieve and you really want to get to that goal. Like you don't always have to have a bipolar or schizophrenia, an anxiety or depression diagnosis. It can be simply you can go to therapy for advice. The same way you go to therapy for advice, you get advice from your father or your uncle or whomever it may be, you can have an individual. Sometimes they call them life coaches. Sometimes they call them licensed mental counselors or whatever it may be. But you can go to therapy and to have somebody coach you through life and to also allow you to see the things that you encounter as obstacles through a different lens. Like a lot of times we encounter a lot of obstacles and they completely break us down and set us back in such a conscious state of mind to where we are unable to move forward. And so I think that's why it's important for us to advocate for therapy so that we don't continue to get bogged down by life's obstacles and to be able to really have the tools to be able to deploy whenever we come into a situation. Brandon, I was going to ask you, what really inspired you to become a therapist? And do you feel like therapists need therapists?
I wish I could sit here and say I knew from birth I wanted to be a therapist or all my life, but I really didn't. I think really once I got out of undergrad, my passion was working with families and children, and that led me to working in the school system and things of that nature. I think it was a building block process for me in realizing that the families that I was talking to, they had never seen me before. And I had to get used to that. Like I don't like it as much being called a unicorn, but I also now embrace the context of what that means. I've just never seen you before.
Right.
Someone who's been to college, someone who can still talk my language and understand that I have this not nuclear family, but I have this family where grandma's upstairs and auntie and uncle and so forth. And I think that
like, you black.
Yeah, you black. You look like me. Yeah, so you understand, And they were so happy. They were so elated because their family was going through so much stuff. they wanted to see someone who I think looked like them. And I think it really just, I think, activated my gift. I think that's what I've tapped into. I didn't know I wanted to be a therapist initially, but something was activated within me. And I look back and people did always want to talk to me, old, young, it didn't matter. And I've always been a vault. And anybody who knows me personally knows that if you tell it to me, it's staying there. And I think that just kind of was really tapped into once I became a young professional, and just saying, you know what, I want them to see somebody in this space, because it is a Western European philosophy. It's not created by us, but that doesn't mean it's any less for us. And I think that's the challenge. And so to answer your second part, absolutely. As a therapist,
because you all take in a lot.
Yeah, you take in more than a lot. I don't even know if there's a word for that, but if there is, let's put that out there in terms for the how much you consume. You know, as being a provider and a safe space for people, you have to have a safe space. The same way a pastor needs to sit away from the pulpit, he's got to be a part of the congregation and receive that same nourishment that he's giving out to other people. Because if not, burnout is absolutely going to happen, because you're taking in the emotional bearings of other people, and that's a lot to carry.
Multiple
so you
a day too.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Hey, are you looking for your dream home in the Queen City of Charlotte, North Carolina? Well, look no further. Noire Group is Charlotte's premier real estate brokerage. Their team of experienced agents will work to find you the perfect property in the most sought-after neighborhoods. Whether you are a first-time home buyer or looking to upgrade, Noire Group has a diverse range of options to fit your unique needs and budget. Their slogan, "Find out why we're different," makes them your premier real estate choice. Trust them to guide you through the buying process with professionalism and expertise. Contact Noire Group of Charlotte today at 704-397-3661 and by visiting wearenoire.com, and let them help you find your perfect place to call home. Noire Group of Charlotte, North Carolina. And has everybody here been able to go to therapy? Have you ever been able to go to therapy?
No, never.
Have you?
I've been to therapy.
So this is a good question for you then. What is your perception of going to therapy?
I honestly never looked into it in depth to want to initiate therapy, because as I was just maneuvering through life, I was always figured out, just internalizing everything. But once I started to build my relationship with God, I seen him as my therapist in a way.
We had a conversation off camera too earlier, and I told him he's been to therapy, he's just never had a therapist because he's an artist. Like, the ability to sit and create allows you to get those thoughts out of your head sometimes and put them on paper. But there is a thing about tapping into somebody with a skill set that will bring out other stuff to allow you to even go beyond where you think you can go in your own mind.
Yeah.
And I think even for me, I've been to therapy twice, and it's been a very fruitful and a very beneficial experience. I think one of the biggest misconceptions is the cost. A lot of times you don't know what you can afford until you try. You don't know what type of grants and resources are out there for you based on where you live, your zip code, your socioeconomic status, your ethnicity. And also too, the last point is, if there's a will, there's a way. Yeah. So when it comes, therapy is all about having the will to get better. And then once you establish the will to get better and to get help, and you start actually going after those resources and identifying a therapist, you start to realize like the therapy world is something that continues to give. Yeah. You get on Google, you ask some friends, I know somebody, I know Brandon, boom, 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 let me connect you. And then you realize like, wow, like there are people out here that look like me that actually are out here doing the work and putting in the work and getting people better. And so I think the access to therapy is often something that is misleading, and it's something that's really, really pushed nowadays. And all it does is further deter people from actually going out there and trying to find a therapist.
Yeah. One thing that you pointed out too, and this is something that I think kept me from therapy a long time, was that I thought once I go in, I can't get out. Like I'm in therapy forever. You know what I mean? And I really thought that. I thought like once you go get a therapist, like it's something that you got to keep doing. And I remember you brought it up like, yo, you're supposed to like almost graduate from therapy, like, and to a certain extent, like that's why you said you've been twice. Like I've been once. But I really thought that once I got into it, it was no way out. And the moment that I got out of it, I was gonna mess myself up, and that stopped me from going because I'm like, well, I can't maintain this for the rest of my life.
Right.
I ain't about to go do therapy.
Yeah,
until
it's a lot, and I think that is a misconception.
Yeah.
You know, that this relationship has to be forever. I think, you know, the way I look at it is that you have to be able to cultivate the right relationship, and to be honest, you got to have the right therapist that's the right fit for you, and making sure that they have a really solid assessment of your needs and why it is that you're coming into therapy.
Yeah.
I try to empower my clients to really work myself out of a job, so to speak, with them for that instance. And what I mean by that is this isn't a lifelong relationship in terms of you have to be in this room dealing with this particular issue forever.
Yeah.
I want you to feel empowered enough that this is a relationship we're creating together.
Mm-hmm.
I want to go as far as you're able to go, as far as you're capable of actually going. And I want you to realize that you have autonomy in this relationship to determine what's a good place for you? Like, where are we trying to go?
For sure.
And so there are so many different types of approaches within the therapy framework that I really want my clients to be a part of that relationship. Like, you're the expert on you. And I tell people that when they come into the room, I'm not an expert on who you are and what you need. I have some clinical tools that can be assistive to you, but this relationship works based on what you're willing to invest in it and also what it is that you initially want from it.
Absolutely. I like that. And you have to have an intention whenever you go into it. And I think the one thing with my experience of going to therapy is that you have somebody who has the education and the training to pull things out of you that nobody else can.
Nope.
Like the comfort of your father, the comfort of your uncle, the comfort of your friend, they're too close. But whenever you bring in, too attached. But when you bring in a non-biased party into the equation and they're trained to ask the right questions to elicit a specific type of answer or a specific emotion, that's where the work begins.
Yeah.
That's whenever you start feeling like, dang, I just left therapy and I feel lighter physically.
Yeah.
Physically. And all that is a shift of energy, something that you're keeping balled up internally, and you release that. You probably feel that way whenever you leave the studio.
Most definitely.
Art therapy. That's a real thing.
Yeah. Well, like when you leave the studio, you feel like, I'm lighter, man. Like I got it out.
This thing on me for
like,
a week.
I was like I've been hungry to get to the studio all week, and like I just got it out. It's like, man, I feel amazing. I feel lighter. I feel sharper. I feel like I can listen better. I can see better. I just feel like a weight has been lifted off my shoulders, and that is the experience as an artist. So, as an artist, like, what really motivates you to do the work you do, and do you feel like you're more so an artist that feeds off of your pain and your struggles, or simply your highs?
All of the above, brother. All of the above. It's like I pull from real life experiences. I'm one of those artists. I never fabricate anything. I don't like to make up stories. I mean, I see stuff from other people's perspective sometimes, but majority it's like, okay, I lived this. I've went through this pain. I've triumphed here, and I pull from all those places, not just necessarily one or the other, but it's like life in general and all aspects of life.
Nice. And I think too, the overall thing too is that we have to always realize, like, and assess if we're not managing our grief and our anxieties, like, who is, right? And so sometimes, like, just the mismanagement of grief, traumas, anxiety allows us to act out and have behavior that's inappropriate for the time and period that we're in our life. And Sam, I was going to ask you, is that, have you ever experienced any anxiety? And if you did, what are some of the strategies you use to deploy some of those things?
I mean, I still experience anxiety. I'm a overthinker to the point that's my profession. I'm an engineer, so like I literally get paid to overthink solutions. But I had to learn how to manage it because it was interfering with my life to the point where, like, I was getting anxious about making decisions that ultimately wouldn't affect me tomorrow or the next day, but maybe down the line. So I got into meditation. I got into cold therapy, ice baths and stuff like that.
Cold showers.
Cold showers.
Yeah.
I do cold shower daily. I started putting these things into my routine so that I could control the situation before the world did. So instead of walking outside and I'm tested because I got a flat tire, I already tested myself with the cold shower, and I've already achieved that. And then I go do something else and I achieve that and get through these things. But, anxiety still comes and it goes. It's something that I don't think you ever get completely rid of, but you do learn how to manage it and get better control over it.
And Brandon, I think you can speak on this a little bit better. Do you feel like everyone experiences some level, form, in some way of anxiety?
To a degree. To a degree. I don't know if everyone
would you say that worry is an anxiety?
It can be, because worry is a direct connect, or as I like to say, like a first cousin to being fearful.
Okay.
But there's a difference between being worried about something and then being concerned about something. So the idea about being worried means that you want to affect the outcome, but you lack what it takes to do so. So now you're worried about it. If you're concerned about something, that's just like a general expression, like, I'm okay with maybe the direction that this may go, and I don't have to put my hands on it to necessarily manipulate the outcome. And I think, speaking to what you meant about, do people get rid of these things? And the answer is no.
Yeah.
But you can learn. I operate within that framework that with grief, you don't get over grief. And I don't even like the concept of time heals all wounds. It's really what you do with that time that helps you heal.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And as we talked about, healing is an ongoing process. Nothing about it is linear whatsoever. So I have to learn to manage triggers, responses, and those can feel like day one, even in year 5.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just learning to manage those things versus allowing them to manage you. Because any grief or trauma you experience, that's an introduction to the new person you're going to be that has to learn to live with it.
I like that.
And no cap, like, this is therapy. Like, fellowship can be therapy, because it's like, if you don't have the vocabulary to know certain things, when you have conversations and you learn stuff, like you just made that difference between the two words, like that. While you were saying that, I just had a breakthrough about some stuff that I thought that I was worried about, but I'm more so concerned about, and it's just having that conversation, having that understanding and awareness is almost what you get from therapy, what you get from fellowship. And it's not always not being crazy or, not having issues. Sometimes it's just I need somebody to bounce something back off of me so that I can hear what I'm saying and make sense of it.
And that's what's kept us out of that room so much, is the fact that it's associated historically, even within our culture, that, this person is crazy if they have these issues, or this person is crazy if they go and talk about this. And we have to dispel that by showing that more men, especially, we get rid of the bravado and the confidence that mask or covers how we truly authentically feel, to go in spaces to say, no, brothers cry. Brothers lose things. We go through grief. We have experienced trauma. We've been hurt, passed over. We've had bad relationships. We've been the reason for those bad relationships. Who am I, because I'm a male or because of my maleness, to carry that just because society says you have the shoulders that are broad enough to do so?
Exactly.
That's a fact. And I think it's all about where we're getting the education from to have those beliefs, right? Like who told you, or what told you that going to therapy or not, or being is a weakness versus being a strength. And we have to just reprogram our mind and redefine how we go about life, because really a strength is the ability to manage your own emotions. That's strength. Like, a strength is ability to discern when you need help and actually go and get the help you need. That's a strength.
Yeah.
Versus it's not a strength to ignore those things and then let it explode, and then you behave or act out in a certain type of manner, whether that be anger, depression, yelling, drugs, alcohol. Like, that's not a strength. That's just you. That's more so you succumbing to the things that you could have checked as an individual a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 5 years ago. But it's always good that the solution of being in therapy is something that you can benefit from. And it's almost like large corporations have, if you're struggling in a particular area of your field, you can go to resources.
Yep.
Right. And then that person is going to coach you. Like, all right, you want to improve in this pharmaceutical area, or you want to improve in sales, or you want to improve in engineering. Let's start deploying these things and seeing how good you're benefiting from that.
I think our media almost did it, and not saying social media, but the things that we've watched. Because I remember, so they dropped Girlfriends on Netflix, and I rewatched it. So all the viewers, don't be judging me for rewatching it. I rewatched the whole series.
I still watch Living Singles. So.
Yeah, exactly. So I rewatched the whole series, and I remember like the segment where Joan was thinking about going to therapy, and they was always talking about, well, you ain't crazy. And then even when she went, they made it seem like she became better than everybody and not healed. It was therapy Joan was better than everybody instead of just being a healed Joan. And I remember even instances, I think like Fresh Prince and Martin, where like they brought up therapy episodes, but it was always like a bad thing to go to therapy. It was never like okay, you should go to therapy.
Well, like it's also too, like society has everything that has a destination. Go to school, graduate. Go to graduate school, graduate. Get your PhD, graduate. Get a job, get promoted. Everything has a finish line and a goalpost that's continuously being moved.
Yeah.
And so as you talked about healed as it being a destination, and it's not. Right. It's a journey.
It's a journey.
But selling the journey is not sexy. Selling the destination is sexy.
Selling completion.
Selling completion is sexy. Yeah. Getting signed as an artist is the destination, right? It's not the journey and the growth as an artist and how you've developed your wordplay and how you've developed how you hear different melodies and sounds and use different instruments and tap into different genres and
continue to get better.
And continuing to get better. That's not the sexy part. The sexy part is the destination. Yeah. So we have to continuously break down the barriers that I hate using the word society, and I'm going to come up with a new word for it. But it's like, it's what community has placed on us as the norm. Yeah. Right? The norm is for everything to be a level of completion.
Yeah. And everybody's norm. I don't even like the word normal because what's normative to me isn't normative for Sam.
Yeah, for sure.
Because we come from, and we come from different environments. And one of the things that I go at length to when I start the therapeutic relationship is really explaining. For one, I think one of the most important things you can do as a therapist is build rapport. I'm not in here to just you sign paperwork and we jump immediately into intervention and me fixing. I'm not a fixer. I can't, if it were that simple, you could do it.
Yeah.
If it were that simple, I could do it even for myself, and it's really not. It's nuanced. It's very layered. And I try to build a relationship with people that allows them to see this is a journey. You don't come into this room and get that aha moment on day one.
Oh yeah,
that sounds really good.
Right.
Yeah, I'm good.
But most people think so, though.
It doesn't work that way.
Not even they think so, but that's what they want.
They
want to come in day one and figure it out, so they never got to go back.
So I don't have to come back. That microwave piece. And it doesn't work that way. It is a journey. And the small things that you uncover, people will come in for grief, and we unlock 10 doors with that one key. You thought it was just grief, but really grief has been activated by something else that has occurred in your life, and now it's all being, revealed to you in that safe space. So this is a journey. Some people are in, therapy. It's brief, it's solution focused, and there are other people that I've walked with for a lot longer, but that's because of where they started from. If you come from 25 years worth of suppression, 6 months is not going to undo that or give you the opportunity to learn more about it.
And figure out, like you said, figure out what your therapist can do for you. I was instructed to interview my therapist by a therapist friend of mine. She said, ask them questions before you go into a session to see if they can help you, or they just, because some people are just trying to get paid. You're going to be a number on their calendar. You're going to get in and out. But some people are there to deploy tools and tactics that can actually get you to a destination because they care.
Hey, looking for your dream home in Raleigh, North Carolina? Look no further than Duncan Prime Realty. Brandon Duncan is an experienced real estate professional and is dedicated to helping you find the perfect home for your needs and lifestyle. Whether you are a first-time home buyer or looking to upgrade, Duncan Prime Realty has the expertise to guide you through the process from start to finish. From charming bungalows to modern luxury homes, Duncan Prime Realty has a wide range of properties to suit every taste and budget. So why wait? Contact Duncan Prime Realty today and let him help you find your dream home in Raleigh, North Carolina and other surrounding cities. Contact Brandon at 919-808-2001 and Brandon at DuncanPrimeRealty.com. Dane, what do you think your perspective is on mental health within the music industry?
I don't believe there's an outlet for that, because the majority of the people, most artists are in pain. The majority of artists, and there isn't a structured outlet that artists could go to say, hey, I need help. And I do believe that's a void that need to be filled. Do I have the answers to how I will?
Most of the time, it's the art.
Do you feel like the pain is what sells?
Most definitely. Look at the high caliber artists, J. Cole, Kendrick. Majority of their music is pain centered. Yes, they have the occasional radio hits, but the majority is centered around pain.
So it's about their growth and where they came from and the journey.
Yeah.
Kendrick's last album, and forgive me for not recalling the title of it, was a walk through a therapy sessions from beginning to the very end.
And that's why he embedded Eckhart Tolle into the wordplay of that. Yeah,
exactly. Traumatic.
And the big steppers. Yeah,
traumatic.
And you put a beat behind that, and people lose it. But if you really like that album grabbed me for like a while because it was a walk through someone who's still struggling and being vulnerable enough to acknowledge I'm on the journey and I've also had setbacks. I'm also still in part the same person who walked into the door on day one. And I think people have to get a different concept of going back to what you mentioned, healed. Am I healed or am I on a journey that is healing me, that is helping this wound sort of not be something that is constantly ripped off by, other people's measures, but I'm learning to kind of control my reaction to that.
And celebrate the small ones too.
Small ones.
What triggered me every other day it's taking 3 months to trigger me now. Like people don't recognize that. Correct. They think, I got triggered again. It didn't work.
Yeah,
but so I must not be good for 3 months.
Anymore.
Yeah, you've been good for 3 months. It used to get you every other day. Yeah, so
and too, like you can't expect to, if you're a 30-year-old man, you can't expect to, heal or fix 15 years or 20 years of challenges that you've experienced in 1 to 2 months of therapy sessions.
Doesn't work.
You have to give yourself time and empathy and grace.
Yeah. I seen you saying
that. To give yourself grace to actually go through the process
and be vulnerable
and learn from the process and be honest too.
Yeah.
Like because you want to go to a therapy and you want to be honest so that your therapist can assist you in progressing. And so if you're not telling the complete story, it's hard for them to work with half of the information.
Thanks.
Sam, I was going to ask you, what was your process of like actually finding a therapist? Was it Google? Was it YouTube? Was it references?
So I had references. I started on Google. I was struggling. I just couldn't find. I was tired of searching through names. I didn't know what people looked like. I actually reached out to a friend of mine that I mentioned. I told her what I was looking for. I was looking for somebody who was spiritual, Black, and older, male or female. So I looked at their practice information. I actually called and asked questions. She actually gave me a couple questions that people might ask their therapist, not as far as a session, but just like what I was looking for out of a therapist. And then I went to different therapists. Like I didn't just find one and I went to one, see how I like this, see maybe a couple of sessions with this person, didn't fit. I went to another one until I found the one that I felt most comfortable with. I really related to. I think I really connected to. I was able to be vulnerable day one. Like the moment I walked in, I was almost in tears just because I had built up, I think, a trust almost with therapists that I have seen so many that I was like, okay, like I know what they're trying to do. It's not always out to get me. And then when I finally connected with him, I was like, he just bought it out of me. Like, and so it was a process. I think people want, like you said, we're in the microwave generation. And I want to be able to click a button and got the perfect therapist for me. And it don't always work like that.
Because nobody wants to be hurt. Yeah. We don't want to hurt anymore.
Exactly.
So fix this immediately, please.
Right. Yeah. And Brandon, as a therapist, as a licensed therapist, how do you recommend individuals who want therapy find a therapist?
You can start with Google. I'll never, turn Google away because I think it can get us in some. It can get us in the direction. But I think you can start. You can use insurance if you choose. That's another conversation. But I mean, I think it's really understanding or having an idea of what it is that you want. And there are a lot of like general resources, out there for men of color specifically and people of color. But I think it's starting with these search engines and then doing, like, I really like what you said about an interview process and finding the right fit. I think you can start in whatever place you really choose. He had preferences. So those preferences spoke to exactly what it was that he was looking for. And you may find that and then discover, you know what? I don't know that I like that as much as I thought that I would.
Yeah.
And it's really like, I always called it like, when you look at something on the mannequin, it looks really good on the mannequin.
Right.
When I try it on, does that shirt fit me the way that I thought that it would? And if it doesn't, I don't just walk out of the store. I may say, do you have another size? Do you have this? And I think being able to be transparent with yourself enough in that search, stick with it. I ask my clients, give me a few sessions to see if I'm the right fit for you, because I'm not. My style doesn't work for everyone. I'm not the right fit, the same as a pair of shoes doesn't fit. So I want people to know that there are ways you can start on any search engine that you choose in terms of looking for what you're looking for. And if you have a person that you trust that's been in therapy, you don't have to use their therapist, but you can ask them. And I'm glad you had that friend that can push us in that direction. I'm that friend by default for a lot of my friends. I'm not their therapist, and they know that. But I've encouraged and inspired a lot of them to go find one. What do these acronyms mean? I'll answer that question for them. That's where I think Google can be helpful, because you'll see acronyms behind people's name. We call the alphabet soup. We're like, I don't know what that is.
I didn't see pictures, so I'm like, all right, if you ain't got no picture, I'm skipping, because I'm like, I didn't know what you look like.
Right. And too, so we have Google, we got
social media,
verbal references.
Psychologytoday.com is one that I use a lot for people, because it does give that picture profile reference if that therapist in that area has a profile on there.
And so that's a general bank nationally. So psychologytoday.com.
I think Taraji dropped something similar.
Yeah, Taraji, was it Black Man Heal?
Black Man Heal.
Black Man Heal is another resource that people can tap into and just do some research. And then for like, now that a lot of things have moved virtual, BetterHelp is another one that I noticed that a lot of people are tapping in with because of the accessibility of it. You can do therapy sessions right there in your home, on your phone, and really talk to a therapist and do sessions like that.
I always promote this one too, and I think it's really good for artists, just because he's an artist. But Kid Cudi has a campaign called Pound You Good Man, like hashtag You Good Man, and he's asking the question, "Are you good?"
I have seen that.
So that's a good campaign, and he can probably speak to different artists. So I'm not sure if it's for artists, but if you're an artist looking, that's probably a good place to start.
Nice. And then the last question that I want to ask, and I think it'd be unique to start off with you for this, is do you feel like your therapist should look like you or has to look like you?
I'm going to say yeah, because, it's hard for people outside of our culture to understand the dynamic of what we go through. So I feel like that's important for somebody that looks like me, that I can identify with the things I've been through in my life from their life and be like, okay, I can adjust and give you direction to mend whatever problem you may have, because I've been through it myself. And, with other demographics, it's kind of hard to relate to our culture.
Absolutely. Brennan, as a African-American therapist, do you feel like our people need someone that looks like us to be their therapist?
You don't have to have it. I encourage it though. And my reasoning for that is because I don't want to dispel another clinician's ability to make a connection with someone. But what I have found, and this is a couch's perspective, me being on the couch as long as I have, I've been able to make more connections because of my ability to know our language with especially Black men and Black women as well. Because when they see me, we're looking as a culture for relatability, because so many spaces don't belong to us. So if you go to a work function, if you go to your kid's school play or what have you, you're probably looking for somebody who looks like you, because the conversation may be a little bit more fluid and you may feel more comfortable to approach that person. It's really a duality. And I want to make sure that I share that, because you also want to make sure that you don't over-relate to someone and you come into this mindset that this is my friend. This is someone who, I could take to, me and you could hang out outside of here. No, we can't. Yeah. We have a therapeutic relationship. Right. And if that person
can't
also
even acknowledge
feels,
them outside of the office. Yeah.
And if they see you the same way, they may overshare. And now that session becomes about them, because now you're over relating and there's too much saturation of we're too alike. But I do believe for our culture to get started, because there's so much mistrust within the medical field, finding someone who does look like you, I think can open the door to saying, this person sits with me in this space. And they do look like me, and it may just put you at ease versus feeling you're in a judgmental space. So I do encourage it.
I like that.
I 100% agree. I think it's just from a level of being comfortable. For me, I wanted somebody that was Black, but I also wanted somebody that was older because I thought that, and I was younger when I was thinking this, but I thought that somebody who was around my age was going through the same things I'm going through. So I'm like, you can't help me what you going through.
Yeah.
You know, that's literally what my thinking was. Like, how you gonna help
They
me
don't
through
have
this?
enough
And
life
you
experience.
yeah, exactly. So I wanted somebody that I think looks like me, but I wanted somebody older that had a little bit more experience in life. So I think it really just comes down to how comfortable the situation can make you, because it's already an uncomfortable situation for Black men to go to therapy. Mm-hmm. So it's like, if I go to therapy and then I got this young white woman or older white woman, it's like, you kind of reminded me of that boss that triggered me, that, you know, or even with men, I think it's even hard for us to talk to men in general.
It is.
Because it's not a practice. So I think to have an older man kind of put me in a position of submission, because I didn't have to do that to my dad, and I had to address that situation through therapy. So addressing that situation with my dad in therapy, talking to an older man, made it easier for me to talk to men. I couldn't look men in the eyes, and I didn't realize that until I was in therapy, and that helped me overcome situations. So I like to challenge myself. So I think being comfortable with people who look like you just makes it a little bit easier. Not saying that, like you said, that people can't do the job. It's just, for me, I know it just made it a little bit easier.
Looking for the freshest kicks in town? Look no further than Kic Unlimited, keeping it collective. Kic is located in Apex, North Carolina, sneakerhead's paradise. They offer rare and unique sneakers that are perfect for everyday wear or for adding to your collection. And they don't just stop at shoes. The selection of vintage clothing is just as impressive. At Kic Unlimited, they believe that everyone deserves to look and feel their best, and that starts with the right pair of sneakers. So go check them out and see why they are one of the dopest sneaker stores in North Carolina. Stop by 103 North Salem Street, Suite B, Apex, North Carolina, 27502, and give them a call at 919-355-2441. Kic Unlimited. It's a more open avenue. Yeah, man. I think you know, all in all, us discussing the moniker of come healed is essential for us to understand that healing is a journey, and nobody doesn't come to you prepackaged. They come to you with their own past, their own anxieties or worries or concerns about the future, and they're dealing with things in the now. Me personally, like, I've learned, even though I've been to therapy and I've definitely had an abundant experience, I think now the way that I manage my day-to-day is meditation. You know, I just reached 1,000 days of daily meditation. Wow. And what I've really learned about myself during that process is the I am. So if I consistently focus on the I am, I'm never worrying about the past. I'm never concerned about the future. I'm always concerned about the now. And that makes me a lot more present in the things that I do. So I'm present in every conversation. I'm present in every interaction. I'm present in every activity that I'm involved in. And so that allows me to be my most optimal self during those situations. So meditation has just allowed me to just get grounded and get centered. It's opened up my spiritual life. It's opened up my deeper studies. It's opened because I'm a person that studies comedic science. And so as my studies and my readings and my teachings get deeper, I realize the more true power of who I am and who I was born to be and who my ancestors were. And so that gives me a self-realization of, okay, I can handle any situation I put my mind to because I now know where I come from and I now know that I am. So come healed, why therapy is for you. I think this is a very good episode to encourage your family, your friends, anybody who can benefit from therapy services, or anybody that has been to therapy in the past that wants to try it out again, to tap into those resources like Psychology Today, to tap into those situations like Black Men Heal. Kid Cudi has something going on, BetterHelp, Google searches, and just ask your family and your friends. Social media is a powerful tool. Tap into your networks and really, really have the will to do it, because we are what we think about. And if you think about yourself in therapy and you see yourself going through the healing process, a therapist will be attracted to you. So, gentlemen, I appreciate the vulnerability. I appreciate your perspectives and everything that you all had to offer to this conversation.
Solid.
Come heal.
Thank you.
Why
for
therapy
having
is for you. Absolutely.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you.
For my brothers never had an ear to hear 'em. These the bricks for our sisters help us build it. If I could be a black fly on the wall, I can hear and see it all and have the mind of a god. Black, 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 black. Fly, 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 fly. Black, black, black.